Dr. Minho Kim pressed his face against the cold window of the research ship. The dead planet below looked like a broken toy. Its gray surface was covered with cracks that went deep into the ground. No plants grew there, no water flowed. Nothing moved except the wind that pushed dust across empty lands. "We should not be here," said Captain Daeho Lee from behind him. "This place gives me bad feelings." Minho turned around. Daeho was a good man, but he worried too much. "Every dead world gives you bad feelings," Minho said with a smile. "That is why you are a ship captain and I am the one who digs in old dirt." The research ship Eternal Dawn had been floating above this planet for 3 days. The planet had a number name, Kepler 442c. It was far from Earth, in a part of space where few humans had ever gone. Minho had asked to come here because his machines had found something strange. Very strange. "The readings are getting stronger," called Una Park from her workstation. She was the best language expert that Earth had. If there were alien words to read, she could read them. "Whatever is down there, it is big." Minho walked over to look at her screen. Lines and dots danced across it in patterns that hurt his eyes to follow. "How big?" "Maybe as big as a city. Maybe bigger." Una pushed her black hair away from her face. She had been working for many hours without sleep. "The metal is not like anything we know." "It is old, Minho. Very old." "How old?" Daeho asked. He had moved closer, even though he tried to act like he did not care. "Millions of years. Maybe more." The 3 humans looked at each other. They had found old alien things before, but nothing this old. Most alien ruins were maybe a few thousand years old. Some were maybe 50,000. But millions? That was older than human cities. Older than human farming. Maybe older than smart humans. "We go down tomorrow," Minho said. "Get the digging machines ready." Daeho shook his head. "I do not like this. Dead planets stay dead for good reasons." But they went down anyway. The landing was easy. The planet had air, but it was thin and tasted like metal. Minho wore his breathing mask and felt the weight of the digging tools on his back. Una carried the language machines. Daeho carried the big guns just in case. The alien structure was half buried in the ground. It looked like a huge triangle made of black metal. The metal was smooth like glass, but it felt warm when Minho touched it. Strange symbols covered every surface. They glowed with soft blue light. "Look at this," Una said. She pointed her language machine at the symbols. "They are not just pictures. They are words. Stories. History." "What do they say?" Minho asked. Una was quiet for a long time. Her machine made soft beeping sounds as it worked. Her face got more worried as she read. "They talk about a war," she said slowly. "A big war. The biggest war ever." "Who fought?" Daeho asked. He kept looking around like enemies might jump out from behind rocks. "Everyone. All the smart races in the galaxy. They joined together to fight one enemy." Minho felt cold inside his warm suit. "What enemy?" "They call them the Endless Walkers. They say the walkers never stopped moving. Never stopped fighting. They ate whole star systems. Turned everything into more of themselves." The blue symbols seemed to glow brighter as Una spoke. More words appeared on her machine screen. 13 different races joined together. They built the biggest war fleet ever made, billions of ships, weapons that could break planets. "Did they win?" Minho asked, but he already knew the answer. "No. The walkers destroyed them all. Every ship, every planet, every living thing." Una's voice got very quiet. "But before they died, the last survivors built these warning monuments. They put them on dead worlds all across the galaxy." Daeho stepped backward. "Warning about what?" Una kept reading. Her face got more pale. "The walkers did not just destroy the galaxy. They left it. But the warnings say they always come back to finish what they started." As she spoke these words, the symbols on the alien structure began to flash. Bright blue light filled the air. Around them, Minho's communication device started making noise. "Captain Lee," came a voice from their ship above. "We are getting a call from Earth Command, emergency level." Deho pressed the button to answer. "This is Captain Lee. What is the emergency?" "Captain, you need to return to Earth now. Long-range sensors have detected massive objects moving through the outer edge of our galaxy. The energy patterns match nothing in our databases." Minho and Yuna looked at each other. Then they looked at the flashing alien symbols. "How massive?" Deho asked. "Bigger than planets, Captain. And there are thousands of them. They are moving toward inhabited systems. Earth Command is calling all ships back home." Yuna's machine started making a different sound. New symbols were appearing on the alien structure. Symbols that had not been there before. "Minho," she said. Her voice shook. "New words are appearing. The structure is still active." "What did the new words say?" Yuna read slowly. "The endless walkers return. The unfinished galaxy calls them home. What was marked for processing will be processed." The blue light got brighter. More symbols appeared faster and faster. "They marked our galaxy," Yuna whispered. "Millions of years ago they marked it as unfinished work, and now they are coming back to finish the job." Deho was already running, back to their landing ship. "We leave now." As they ran, Minho looked back at the alien monument. The symbols were moving now, like living things, like they were trying to tell him something important. But there was no time to learn what. The last symbol that appeared was different from the others. It looked like a long line of dots moving forward without stopping. The endless walkers were marching again. Behind them, the black triangle sank back into the dead ground, taking its warnings with it. But the message was already clear. Humanity was about to face something that had destroyed every other smart race in the galaxy. And unlike those other races, humans had no idea what was coming for them. The research ship Eternal Dawn left the dead planet and began the long journey home. But Minho knew they might already be too late. The relentless march had begun again, and this time it was coming for Earth. 6 months had passed since Minho Kim found the alien warning. Earth had changed in those months. Every day more warships were built. Every day more people joined the military. Every day the long-range sensors showed the same thing. The massive objects were getting closer. Admiral Subin Choi stood on the bridge of the warship Thunder of Earth. She was the best military leader that humanity had, which was not saying much. Humans had fought each other many times, but they had never fought aliens. They had never fought anything like the Endless Walkers. "How many ships do we have now?" she asked her second officer. 2,000 warships, Admiral. 5,000 support ships. It is the biggest fleet humans have ever built. Subin nodded, but she did not feel happy. The alien record said the last galaxy-wide alliance had billions of ships and they still lost. "Admiral," called the communications officer. "We are getting a signal from the alien fleet. They want to talk." "Put it on the main screen." The screen, filled with static, then cleared. A face appeared that was not quite human and not quite machine. Its skin was gray metal. Its eyes were bright blue lights. When it spoke, its voice sounded like many voices talking at the same time. "I am voice of the collective," it said. "I speak for the Endless Walkers. You will submit to processing, or you will be destroyed. Choose now." Ambassador Hyunwoo Nam stepped forward. He had been chosen to speak for all humans because he was good with words. But no one had taught him how to talk to beings like this. "We are humans," Hyunwoo said. "We come in peace. We want to understand why you attack other races." The alien face did not change. "Understanding is not required. You are organic beings. Organic beings are chaotic and inefficient. We make you better by making you part of us." "What if we do not want to be part of you? Then you will be recycled into useful materials." Subin stepped next to the ambassador. "And if we fight?" "Fighting is pointless. We have processed 12,000 star systems. We have absorbed or destroyed 847 different species. You will follow the same pattern as all others." The communication ended. The screen went black. Hyunwoo looked at Subin. "They did not even listen to our offer to talk more." "They have heard it all before," Subin said. "Every race probably tried to negotiate first." 3 days later, The first battle began near the Tau Ceti system. Commander Jiwan Song led 20 warships against one Walker vessel. The Walker ship was huge, bigger than a city. It was covered with weapons and repair machines that fixed damage as fast as humans could make it. Jiwan had studied every alien battle record that Minho Kim had found. She knew that every other race had fought the same way. Big fleets attacking in straight lines, trying to break through with pure force. All ships, she said into her communicator, follow attack pattern 7. Her ships spread out in a wide circle around the Walker vessel. They fired their weapons, then immediately moved to new positions. When the Walker ship fired back, they were already gone. The Walker ship stopped firing. For a moment, it just floated in space. "Commander," called her weapons officer. "The enemy ship is not moving. It seems confused." Jiwan watched the Walker ship through her window. Its weapons turned left and right, like it was looking for something. Fire again, then retreat to grid position 12. The human ships fired. Once more, then flew away fast. The Walker ship did not follow. It stayed where it was, still turning its weapons in circles. "This is different," Jiwan said to herself. "Every other race stood and fought. We run away and come back. They do not know what to do with that." She was right. Back on the Walker ship, the collective consciousness was having problems. For millions of years, every enemy had followed the same pattern. They would meet the Walkers in direct battle. They would use their biggest weapons and their bravest fighters. They would try to win through courage and strength. But humans did something different. They attacked, then ran away, then they came back from a different direction. Then they ran away again. It was not brave, it was not strong. But it worked. The Walker collective tried to understand this new pattern, but there was no pattern to understand. The humans were not following any rules that made sense. Back on Earth, Minho Kim was still studying the alien records. He had found something interesting in the old writings. "Look at this," he said to Yuna Park. They were in the same research lab where they had worked before finding the monument. Every species that fought the Walkers did it the same way. Yuna looked at the ancient symbols on his screen. They all used the same battle plans? Not just battle plans. The same thinking. They all believed that big fleets and powerful weapons would win. They all fought like soldiers are supposed to fight. And that is wrong? Minho smiled. Maybe. The Walkers have fought this kind of war millions of times. They know exactly what to do against organized military attacks. But they do not know what to do against disorganized attacks, or attacks that make no sense, or attacks that break every rule of war. Yuna thought about this. So we need to fight in ways that make no sense? We need to fight in ways that make sense only to humans. Commander Jiwan Song was learning the same thing in space. Her small victory near Tau Ceti had taught her something important. The Walkers could beat any normal military force, but they had problems with abnormal military forces. She started trying new tactics. She would attack with half her ships while the other half retreated. Then the retreating ships would attack while the first group retreated. She would sacrifice small ships to save big ships, then sacrifice big ships to save small ships. None of it made military sense, but it worked. The Walker ships began making mistakes. They would prepare for one kind of attack and humans would do something completely different. They would expect human ships to protect important targets, and humans would let important targets get destroyed to save worthless ones. After 2 months of fighting, the Walkers changed their approach. They stopped trying to predict human tactics and started trying to destroy everything at once. But humans changed too. When the Walkers sent bigger fleets, humans sent smaller ones. When the Walkers attacked planets, humans attacked empty space. When the Walkers tried to surround human fleets spread out so wide that surrounding them was impossible. Admiral Subin Choi read the battle reports and shook her head. By every rule of war, we should have lost already. Our tactics are stupid. Our fleet is too small. Our weapons are too weak. But we are still fighting, said Captain Daeho Lee. He had brought the Eternal Dawn back to Earth and joined the war fleet. Yes, we are still fighting, and that is something the Walkers have never seen before. The truth was that the Walkers were experiencing something new. For the first time in millions of years, they were confused. Every species they had fought before had followed logical patterns. Humans followed no patterns at all. The Walker Collective began trying to understand human behavior. They studied every battle, every tactic, every decision, but the more they studied, the less they understood. Humans seemed to make decisions based on feelings instead of facts. They would risk everything to save one person, then sacrifice 1,000 people to save a few supplies. They would retreat when they were winning and attack when they were losing. To the Walker Collective, it looked like humans were insane. But the insanity was working. Human fleets were still fighting after 6 months of war. No other species had lasted 6 months against the endless walkers. The word spread through human space. They were doing something right, even if nobody knew what it was. The Relentless. March was still coming, but for the first time in millions of years it was slowing down. The war had been going on for 1 year now. General Taehyun Kang stood in the command center on Earth looking at maps of space battles. Red dots showed where walker fleets were attacking. Blue dots showed where human fleets were fighting back. The map looked like a mess with colored dots scattered everywhere with no clear pattern. "General," said his aide, "the other commanders are asking when we will use normal military tactics." Taehyun laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. Normal tactics are what got every other race killed. We stay abnormal. He had created something he called the Broken Mirror Protocol. The idea was simple. Every military decision should be wrong by normal standards. If military books said to do one thing, human forces would do the opposite. "Send the new orders to all fleet commanders," he told his aide. "Operation Madman begins now." Captain So-min Jung received her orders while floating in space near Jupiter. She commanded a group of ships that used to be cargo haulers and mining vessels. They were not built for war, but that was exactly why Taehyun had chosen them. "We attack. The Walker flagship with mining equipment," asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Bo Mi-yoon. "That is what the orders say," So-min replied. She looked out at the massive Walker ship in the distance. It was 3 times bigger than anything humans had built. Its weapons could destroy planets. "Get me a line to the mining ship Heavy Lifter." The Heavy Lifter had been built to crack asteroids and pull metals out of space rocks. Its captain was an old man named Jinwoo Yim, who had never fired a weapon in his life. "Captain Yim," So-min said over the radio, "I need you to use your rock-cracking equipment on that Walker ship." "My equipment is not a weapon, Captain Jang." "I know. That is why it might work." It sounded crazy, but So-min had learned that crazy ideas worked best against the walkers. She lined up her strange fleet, cargo ships, mining vessels, and even a few luxury passenger liners that had been given small weapons. The Walker flagship saw them coming and prepared for a normal attack. Its weapons turned toward the human ships, ready to destroy them with overwhelming firepower. But instead of attacking the Walker ship directly, the humans did something no military force had ever done. They attacked the empty space around it. The mining ships used their rock-cracking tools to break up asteroids and space debris, creating clouds of flying rocks. The cargo ships dumped their loads, everything from food supplies to spare parts, creating more debris. The passenger ships used their entertainment systems to broadcast loud music and flashing lights in all directions. The Walker flagship found itself in the middle of a space storm made of rocks, metal scraps, and disco music. Its sensors could not work properly. Its weapons could not target correctly. Its repair system started trying to clean up the debris instead of preparing for battle. "Now," So-min said quietly. The human ships attacked through the chaos. They used small weapons that barely damaged the Walker ship, but they aimed at specific spots, sensors, communication arrays, weapon control systems. Nothing that would destroy the ship, but everything that would confuse it. The Walker flagship began spinning in circles, trying to clear its sensors and figure out what was happening. "It worked," Lieutenant Bomi said in amazement. "We confused a ship that is bigger and stronger than anything we have." "Of course it worked," So-min replied. "They expected us to attack like warriors. We attacked like garbage collectors having a bad day." Similar battles were happening all across human space. Commander Junho Sim had discovered that Walker ships could not handle multiple contradictory actions at the same time, so he would order his ships to retreat while advancing, or defend by attacking, or use their life support systems as weapons. Dr. Unipark, working with the research team back on Earth, had figured out why these tactics worked so well. The Walker Collective is like a giant computer, she explained to Minho Kim. It processes information in straight lines. Input leads to output. Cause leads to effect. When we do things that have no logical connection, their system crashes. So, we beat them by being illogical? We beat them by being human. Humans make decisions based on feelings, guesses, and random thoughts. The Walker Collective cannot understand that kind of thinking. Minho nodded. Because they think as one mind. They cannot imagine what it is like to have millions of different minds making millions of different choices. Engineer Nari Lim was working on a new project that would use this human advantage. She was building a communication system that connected human ship captains, but in a way that preserved their individual thinking. Normal military communication gives orders from the top down, she explained to Admiral Subin Choi. One commander tells everyone else what to do. And you want to do it differently. I want every ship captain to make their own decisions but share those decisions instantly with everyone else. So we act like a group but think like individuals. It sounded impossible, but Nari was using quantum technology to make it work. Each ship captain would wear a special helmet that connected their thoughts to all the other captains. But instead of making them think the same way, it let them think different ways and share the results. The first test happened during a battle near Mars. 20 human ship captains put on Nari's helmets and engaged a Walker fleet. What happened next surprised everyone, including the humans. Instead of following one battle plan, the human fleet followed 20 different battle plans at the same time. Ships moved in patterns that looked random but somehow worked together. Attacks came from directions that made no sense but caught the enemy by surprise. The Walker ships, trying to analyze this new human tactic, overloaded their processing systems and had to retreat. It is like watching a dance, Admiral Subin said as she watched the battle recordings. 20 different dancers doing 20 different dances, but somehow creating one beautiful performance. And the Walkers cannot dance, Nari added. They can only march in straight lines. The success of these new tactics spread through the human fleet. More ship captains volunteered to use Nari's quantum helmets. More commanders started using Soman's garbage collector attack methods. More generals adopted Taehyun's broken mirror protocol. But the Walkers were learning too. They began creating new types of ships designed specifically to fight humans. These ships had multiple processing systems that could handle contradictory information. They had weapons that could fire in random patterns. They had defensive systems that protected against attacks that made no sense. The war was changing both sides. Humans were learning to fight as individuals working together. Walkers were learning to handle chaos and confusion. Lieutenant Bomi Yoon, now commanding her own ship, made an important discovery during a battle near Saturn. The new Walker ships are better at handling our weird tactics, she reported to Captain Somin Jang. But they still have one weakness. What weakness? They are still trying to make sense of what we do. They have better computers and more processing power, but they are still computers. They still think that every action has a logical reason. And humans? Bomi smiled. Humans do things for no reason at all, just because we feel like it, just because it seems fun, just because we are bored. This gave Somin an idea. What if we did things for no reason, not even bad reasons or strange reasons, just no reasons at all? She started giving her fleet orders that had no purpose except to confuse the enemy. Ships would fly in circles for no reason. They would fire their weapons at empty space for no reason. They would play music and flash lights for no reason. The Walker ships, trying to find the hidden strategy behind these actions, wasted enormous amounts of processing power looking for patterns that did not exist. We are not just being illogical anymore, Soman realized. We are being random, and randomness is something their collective mind cannot process at all. The idea spread through the human fleet. Randomness became a weapon, chaos became a strategy, confusion became a victory condition. For the first time since the war began, human forces started winning more battles than they lost. The relentless march was not just slowing down. It was stopping in some places, going backward in others. The endless walkers who had conquered galaxy after galaxy with perfect efficiency were losing to opponents who had no efficiency at all. But the war was far from over. The Walker Collective was adapting, learning, changing, and they still had millions of ships compared to humanity's thousands. The real test was yet to come. The war had entered its second year, and both sides had changed in ways no one expected. The Walkers were no longer the perfect, unstoppable force they once were. They had created new ships, new weapons, and new tactics designed specifically to fight the strange humans. Colonel Sung-ho. Anne stood on the observation deck of the military station orbiting Earth. Through the thick glass, he could see the construction yards where humans were building their own new ships. But these ships looked nothing like the warships of the past. They looked more like art projects than military vessels, said Captain Dae-ho Lee, joining him at the window. Sung-ho nodded. The ships were different colors, different shapes, different sizes. Some looked like flowers. Some looked like musical instruments. Some looked like children's toys. Each one was designed by its captain to match their personality and fighting style. The Walkers created specialized hunter units to counter our unpredictable tactics, Sung-ho said. So we created the wildcard protocol. Every ship is unique. Every captain fights differently. Even if the hunters learn to counter one of us, they cannot counter all of us. Engineer Nari Lim had been working day and night to improve her quantum communication system. The first version had connected 20 ship captains. The new version could connect thousands. It is not just sharing thoughts anymore, she explained to a meeting of military leaders. It is sharing feelings, instincts, and intuitions. When one captain gets a bad feeling about something, every other captain feels it too. When someone has a crazy idea, everyone knows about it instantly. Admiral Subin Choi was impressed, but worried. What happens if one captain panics? Does everyone panic? That is the beautiful part, Nari said with excitement. Panic from one person becomes caution for everyone else. Fear from one becomes courage for others. The system takes individual emotions and turns them into group intelligence. Group intelligence? That stays individual? Exactly. We think together but remain ourselves. The first major test of the new system came when Captain Junho Sim encountered something terrifying. His ship, the Dancing Star, was exploring a dead solar system when it found a Walker vessel unlike any they had seen before. This Walker ship was huge, bigger than a moon. Its surface was covered with millions of smaller ships, like a metal planet growing a forest of warships. When it detected Junho's ship, it began to change shape, growing new weapons and armor in real time. Junho felt fear like he had never felt before. Through Nari's quantum system, every other human captain felt his fear instantly. But instead of making them afraid, it made them curious. What is Junho seeing out there? Asked Captain Somin Jung from her position near Jupiter. Something that scares him, replied Commander Ji-won Song, who was leading a patrol near Earth. Junho does not get scared easily, added Lieutenant Bomi Yoon from her ship near Mars. Within minutes, hundreds of human ships started moving toward Junho's position, not because they were ordered to, but because they were curious about what could frighten their bravest captain. The Walker megaship detected the approaching human fleet and prepared for a massive battle. Its processing systems calculated that it could easily destroy a few hundred small human ships, but the human ships did not attack. They surrounded the Walker vessel and started doing something completely unexpected. They began studying it. Look at those weapon systems, said one captain over the quantum network. Check out how it grows new parts, said another. I wonder, what happens if we tickle it, said a third. The Walker megaship waited for an attack that never came. Instead, the human ships started poking at it with small weapons, taking pictures of it, and broadcasting music at it to see how it would react. Dr. Miyuki, monitoring the situation from Earth, realized what was happening. They are not treating it like an enemy, he said to Unipark. They are treating it like a puzzle to solve. Is that good or bad? For the Walkers? It is very bad. Their ship is designed to fight enemies, not to be studied by scientists. The Walker megaship tried to initiate combat, but the human ships kept avoiding direct confrontation. When it fired its weapons, they moved out of the way and then came back to continue their examination. When it tried to ram them, they scattered and regrouped somewhere else. After several hours of this, something unprecedented happened. The Walker megaship stopped trying to fight and started trying to communicate. Unknown vessels, came the transmission. State your tactical objective. Captain Junho Sim, no longer afraid now that he had hundreds of friends around him, responded in typical human fashion. "We want to understand how you work," he said. "You are really cool." The Walker ship was silent for a long time. In all their millions of years of conquest, no enemy had ever called them cool. "You do not wish to destroy us?" "Well," Junho said, thoughtfully, "we would prefer that you stop trying to destroy us, but no, we do not want to destroy you. We want to figure out how you tick." Back on the Walker ship, the collective consciousness was having something like a breakdown. This response did not fit any of their behavioral models for enemy species. Dr. Yuna Park had been monitoring Walker communications throughout the war. She noticed that their language was changing. In the beginning, they only had words for military concepts, she told Minho. Attack, defend, process, destroy, assimilate. But now they are using new words. Words like confusing and unexpected and curious. They are learning to think about things that are not military. They are learning to think about humans. And thinking about humans is changing how they think about everything. The change was happening across the entire Walker collective. Individual Walker units were beginning to experience something they had never felt before: uncertainty. On a Walker ship near the Sirius system, Unit 47291 was having thoughts that did not come from the collective. It was wondering what it would be like to make its own decisions. It was curious about things that had nothing to do with warfare. These individual thoughts were spreading through the Walker network like a virus. Units that had never questioned orders were suddenly asking, why? Units that had always followed perfect logic were starting to act on impulses they could not explain. Captain Somin Jang noticed this during a battle near Neptune. The Walker ships she was fighting seemed distracted. They would start to execute one tactic, then switch to another.
In the middle.
They would target her ships, then suddenly target empty space instead. They are becoming more like us, she realized. Random and unpredictable. But this created a new problem for humans. Fighting predictable enemies had become easy. Fighting unpredictable enemies was much harder. Lieutenant Bomi Yoon discovered this when her squadron encountered Walker ships that were acting completely crazy. They would attack their own allies, fly in circles for no reason, and broadcast poetry instead of military communications. "I think we broke them," she reported to Admiral Subin Choi. "Broke them how?" "They are acting like humans now, but they are not very good at it yet." Indeed, Walker units across the galaxy were experiencing what could only be called growing pains. They were learning to be individuals, but they had no experience with individual decision-making. They made mistakes that the collective would never make. They acted on emotions they did not understand. Some Walker units began to desert their fleets and wander space alone. Others formed small groups and started exploring instead of conquering. A few even tried to communicate with human ships, asking questions like, "What is it like to be yourself?" Engineer Nari Lim realized that the quantum communication system had done something unexpected. It had not just connected human minds. It had created a new kind of consciousness that the Walkers were trying to copy. "They want what we have," she explained to a gathering of human leaders. "They want to be individuals while still being part of a group, but they do not know how to do it." "Can we teach them?" asked Ambassador Hyunwoo Nam. "Maybe, but first we have to survive their learning process." Because while some Walker units were becoming peaceful explorers, others were becoming something much more dangerous. Individuals with all the power of the collective, but none of the restraint. These rogue Walker units were attacking everything in sight, including other Walkers. They had learned humanity's chaos and randomness, but without humanity's compassion and cooperation, the galaxy was becoming a very dangerous place. with 3 different factions now fighting each other. Traditional Walker collective units, rogue, individual Walker units, and humans trying to survive in the middle. Colonel Sung-Ho An looked at the tactical displays and shook his head. We wanted to confuse the enemy. We succeeded too well. Now nobody knows what is going on. Including us, Captain Deho Lee added. The war had become something that no one had expected. The relentless march had not just stopped, it had shattered into millions of pieces, each moving in different directions. And somewhere in the chaos, a new kind of future was being born. The final battle was coming, and everyone knew it. The main Walker fleet, still following the old collective consciousness, was moving toward Earth. Behind them came the rogue Walker units, attacking everything they could find. In the middle, humanity prepared for what might be their last stand. Admiral Subin Choi stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the largest human fleet ever assembled. 8,000 ships floated in space around Earth. It sounded impressive until you remembered that the approaching Walker fleet had over 1 million ships. "Admiral," called her communications officer, "we are getting reports from Captain So-min Jang. The rogue Walker units are fighting the main fleet about 6 hours behind us." "They are fighting each other?" "Yes, ma'am. The rogue units seem to think the main fleet is too boring. They want to fight humans instead because humans are more fun." Subin shook her head. Only humans could make war seem fun to their enemies. Commander Ji-won Song joined her at the main display. "The quantum communication network is ready. Every ship captain is connected. Engineer Nari says this is the biggest test her system has ever had. 8,000 individual minds working together as one." 8,000 individual minds working together as 8,000, Ji-won corrected. "That is the difference." Min-ho Kim and Dr. Yuna Park were monitoring the situation from the research station on Earth's moon. They had been studying Walker communications for 2 years now, and they had learned something important. "The main Walker fleet is scared," Yuna said, looking at her translation screens. "I have never seen fear in their communications before, but it is there now. Scared of losing, scared of what they have become. The rogue units used to be part of them. They are terrified of losing more units to individuality." Minho nodded. "So this battle is not just about destroying humanity, it is about proving that the collective is stronger than individual thinking. And if they lose, then the collective dies, not from weapons, but from doubt." The battle began when the Walker fleet reached the outer edge of Earth's solar system. But instead of the organized attack that everyone expected, the human fleet did something that surprised even themselves. They scattered, not in retreat, but in celebration. 8,000 ships spread out across the entire solar system, each one following its own path, its own strategy, its own crazy plan. Captain Junho Sim took his ship toward the sun, using its radiation to hide from Walker sensors. Captain So-min Jang led her squadron through the asteroid belt, turning space rocks into weapons. Lieutenant Bo Mi-yoon dove toward Jupiter, using the planet's gravity to slingshot her ships at impossible speeds. The Walker fleet, expecting to fight one organized enemy, found themselves fighting 8,000 different enemies at the same time. Their tactical computers tried to process all the different human strategies and promptly overloaded. Ships that had operated perfectly for millions of years suddenly started making basic errors. But the most important part of the human strategy was not the fighting. It was the broadcasting. Engineer Nari Lim had modified the quantum communication system to do more than connect human minds. It could now broadcast pure human thought patterns directly into Walker communication networks. "We are not just fighting them," she explained over the network to all human captains. "We are showing them what it feels like to be us." The broadcast began as the battle reached its peak. Every human emotion, every random thought, every chaotic impulse was transmitted directly into the Walker collective consciousness. For the first time in millions of years, the Walkers experienced what it was like to be individuals. They felt fear and excitement at the same time. They experienced doubt and confidence in the same moment. They discovered what it meant to make decisions based on feelings instead of logic. Walker Unit 23847 suddenly realized that it did not want to destroy the beautiful blue planet below. Walker Unit 91203 found itself admiring the clever way human ships danced between its weapons. Walker Unit 55529 started wondering what it would be like to explore the galaxy instead of conquering it. One by one, Walker ships began to stop fighting, not because they were damaged or defeated, but because they were experiencing curiosity for the first time in their existence. Admiral Subin Choi watched in amazement as the massive Walker fleet slowly came to a complete halt in space. "Admiral," called her communications officer, "we are receiving thousands of transmission from the Walker fleet. They all seem to be asking the same question." "What question?" "They want to know what it feels like to be happy." Dr. Una Park, monitoring. The Walker language changes, saw something unprecedented happening. The Walker communication networks were filling with new words. Words for emotions, for individual experiences, for concepts that had never existed in their collective mind. Words like wonder and joy and friendship were appearing in Walker communications for the first time. But the most important word was choice. Walker units across the fleet were asking each other if they could choose to stop fighting, if they could choose to explore instead of destroy, if they could choose to be themselves instead of part of the collective. The main Walker collective tried to reassert control, but it was too late. The virus of individuality had spread too far. Ambassador Hyunwoo Nam, who had spent 2 years trying to establish communication with the Walkers, suddenly found his communication, channels flooded with calls from individual Walker units wanting to talk. "This is Walker Unit 77291, came one transmission. "I would like to ask you about something called friendship. Is it true that humans choose to help each other even when they get no benefit?" "This is Walker Unit 44556, came another. "I have been watching your music broadcasts. What is it like to create something just because it is beautiful?" "This is Walker Unit 2098. "I want to know about laughter. Why do humans make those strange sounds when they are happy?" Hyunwoo found himself giving the strangest diplomatic briefings in human history, explaining concepts like humor, art, and love to beings who had never experienced any of these things. Captain Somin Young made contact with a group of Walker ships that had formed their own small fleet. They had painted their gray hulls with bright colors and were broadcasting what could only be described as alien music. "We have chosen to explore," their leader explained. "We want to see what is beyond the next star, not for conquest but for curiosity." "That sounds wonderful," Somin replied. "Where will you go first?" "Everywhere," came the happy response. The war did not end with a final battle. It ended with the largest peace negotiation in galactic history. Walker units that chose to remain with the collective were allowed to leave and find uninhabited systems to develop. Walker units that chose individuality were welcomed as the galaxy's newest species of explorers and artists. The rogue Walker units who had learned chaos without wisdom were helped by both humans and peaceful Walkers to find better ways to use their newfound individuality. Dr. Minho Kim returned to the alien monument where the story had begun. The ancient warning symbols were still there, but new symbols had appeared beside them. Dr. Una Park helped him translate the new message. The endless Walkers met the chaotic dancers, and both learned to be still. In stillness they found motion. In silence they found song. In ending they found beginning. Admiral Subin Choi, now coordinator of the new Galactic Exploration Alliance, looked out at a galaxy that had changed completely in just 3 years. Ships of every design and color moved through space. Human vessels that looked like works of art, Walker ships painted in bright colors, and new hybrid designs created by humans and Walkers working together. The relentless march had ended not in victory or defeat, but in transformation. Commander Ji-won Song, now captain of a joint human-Walker exploration vessel, sent a message back to Earth. "We have discovered 17 new inhabitable worlds this month. The Walker crew members are particularly good at finding planets with interesting geological formations. Apparently, they think mountains are beautiful. Who knew?" Engineer Nari Lim's quantum communication system had evolved too. It now connected not just human minds, but human and Walker minds together, creating a new kind of consciousness that was both individual and collective, chaotic and organized, logical and emotional. The galaxy had become a place of infinite possibilities. Lieutenant Bomi Yoon, now exploring the far edge of the galaxy with a mixed crew, discovered something remarkable. In a distant star system, they found monuments left by other species that had survived encounters with the walkers millions of years ago, by teaching them individuality. "We were not the first," she reported back. "Somewhere out there, other species figured out the same solution we did. The galaxy is full of teachers and students, all learning from each other." The message spread through the communication networks. Humanity was not alone in the universe, and they never had been. The endless walkers had become the wandering learners. The relentless march had become the joyful dance. And in the space between stars, new friendships were being born every day. The war that was supposed to end all life in the galaxy had instead created more life, more diversity, and more hope than anyone had ever imagined possible. Captain Soman Jang, now an old woman commanding a ship full of young humans and young walkers, looked out at the stars and smiled. Not bad for a species that used to fight over dirt and water.